Well, we will see. I will try to upload this on the regular channel. Now, for the last couple of weeks, I've been using the other channel, the Ghost channel, and I have a little test video that I kind of poke on the regular channel with once in a while, and it seemed like it was going to upload it today. So, it could be maybe that channel will work again. I'm guessing. Well, we got a horse. Well, he's expecting to get fed. I noticed today that Susan, whatever the hell her name is, some Polish sounding thing that was running YouTube, is quitting, and like her second in command is going to take over. So if he follows her path, I don't expect things to get any better. But I've been on YouTube for, I think, 12 years now. And it's funny because, it was a pretty smooth working platform when I first got on it. And that's why I got on it. It was so easy. You could take a video, boom, post it. There was none of the garbage. And there used to be nice features, like the private messaging where you could get a hold of another YouTuber directly, not have to go through all the garbage. And like the video responses, they were nice features. But they got rid of them. Well, and then, we had that battle with Google Plus, which was greatly annoying. But I survived it, and somehow that's how I ended up with having this ghost channel. So I guess that's one benefit of that thing. But that was a bad time. But it's been a constant. They've been battering away. They took something that worked really well, and because YouTube used to be its own thing, and it got purchased by Google, and they improved it to the point where it's almost non-functional, or at least irrelevant now. I mean, a lot of the stuff that they've got, it's so funny when I look at my video feed, of like channels I'm subscribed to, very few of the things that they're feeding me are people I'm subscribed to. It's basically just ads, in the listing. It isn't actually videos, it's advertising. Well, I'm not subscribed to them people. Why are they even showing up? That's what you get. So much that they've done wrong. And of course, they're crazy ass guidelines. Because even this now, like I explained it on the Ghost channel, but like I said, this might go on the regular channel. But I had got a strike the last day of the month, last month. Well, this is not unusual. I get strikes all the time. The main thing is to not get 3 of them, And at the moment, I had no strikes, so 1 strike, no big deal. You get a week suspension. Well, I've had that before. It didn't bother me. Second strike, you'll get 2 weeks suspension. But this was 1 strike, and I had no other strikes, which, like I say, is unusual for me. I'm usually sitting on 1 strike. They can allow you to get like 1 a month because they evaporate after 3 months. So when I got a strike on that video, which again, like I said, I've been on for a long time, all the past videos that I have, there's stuff that was perfectly permissible that they have been making money on all these years. Then they suddenly decide this is a horrible thing. This must come down and you must get a strike for it. And there ain't a hell of a lot you can do about it. But, you can appeal it, but I don't think I've ever heard anybody getting them appeals really listened to. like I said, this time when I appealed that, it got kicked back in like 2 minutes. That was like a half-hour video. There's no way, So it's kind of useless. But you figure, okay, well, you got to make the attempt. But in that, after that appeal, then it says, has this, it always wants to kick you back to the guidelines and the community guidelines. Once you get into that jungle, uh, like there's links that don't work, and it's just, you don't get anywhere. You go in circles until you finally give up in frustration of trying to actually get a hold of somebody. But it did say on the end, it said, was this been helpful? And I clicked no, because it wasn't helpful at all. It didn't explain why I was suspended indefinitely, because a week had already gone by and it still wasn't getting any satisfaction out of them. So I clicked no. Well, then it wanted feedback. Well, I give them feedback. Explained, that they have actually wrecked YouTube. I think that Susan had been there for like 9 years. So I about lasted her. So I win. I won on the Google Plus thing too. But you shouldn't have to battle like that. And like I said, I don't know that it's going to get any better with this other cat in there. It's funny when you read from people who are quitting YouTube or playing Google. I mean, there's a lot of them. A lot of them are getting fired, and a lot of them are just quitting in frustration because it's just a horrible organization. So she's moving on to something else. But it's too bad, them companies, that happens all the time. They get bought out by a bigger company and they just trash them because that's what they have done with YouTube. So even, like people say, I should move to Rumble. Well, somebody could buy Rumble. Google could buy Rumble. That's the easy way to get rid of your competition. You just throw money at them. Like I say, it's no big deal. I have been contemplating just getting off YouTube altogether because I can't see it going a good direction. And I have looked at Rumble, but that doesn't really appeal to me. I mean, I actually downloaded the app and I started kind of looking at it, and I don't know. I'm too old to learn new tricks like that. I don't really have an interest in it. But it's the same, like with YouTube, where they want you doing shorts and live feeds, and they have all kinds of schemes afoot. Where it used to work so well without that stuff. So I don't know. But we'll see where it goes. We'll see if this uploads. In fact, I should watch. Because, like I say, I think I can upload on the regular channel today because my little test video was going up. So if I have to go on the Ghost channel, I have to keep it under 15 minutes because that isn't monetized or anything, and for those who aren't familiar with just Log Cabin Loon's Ghost, it's a freakish channel I ended up with, and it's a backup for me, which works good now. I was able to get on that, though it's a no-no for them. I think it's in part they never caught it because that actually is set up on a different email account. And that was part of this Google Plus craziness. So for some reason, that still worked, which is good to know. I still have that in my back pocket for when this goes down again, because if it goes up this time, they could do it again, and they probably will. Though I'm glad to see that she'll be gone because I have no love for what she was doing. But if this guy is anything like her, it's the whole Google thing. They're just not conducive to pleasant associations. So I don't think that they're going to suddenly become something that I really want to live with. But that's a story, so I'll set this one up and see what happens to it. You know, uh, a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of stuff. And it is a nuisance when I have to watch so close to make sure I don't go over that 15-minute deal where they'll kick it off of the Ghost channel. I have to do short videos on the Ghost channel. This one, it doesn't matter. And I can't remember. There was I had to do something to the monkey work in the background on that one so that I could monetize on the Ghost and I could do longer videos on the Ghost. But I figure, it works now. By some freak of nature, it works. So being a backup like that, I'll just leave that alone. I don't need to have another channel to do long videos on if I can do them on this one. But there's a lot of stuff. It's crazy. Every day, I look at the news and I think, well, that's, it seems like these people that are in charge of stuff, when something happens, like this train derailment, their first instinct is always to lie or obfuscate in some way. They're never have an instinct where they just go and tell you what actually happened, what the truth actually is. Now, the truth always comes out about 6 months later. And I don't know, maybe, so they make up some story and the news media will go along with any of their stories. There's very few people that are real media now that will actually look a little deeper and find out what's actually going on. But the mainstream media puts out this story that they want them to, and like I say, about 6 months, then it always comes out what a fabrication this whole thing was. Because this is not good. I imagine anybody living along train tracks now would be nervous as hell. I don't know. There's a lot to be learned from this, but I know for the people living there, this is going to be a nightmare for a long, long time. But it's unbelievable, that this happens. And like the transportation secretary, he never even shows up. I don't know what he's supposed to be doing, but he ain't ever doing his job. All those people, they just, it's really quite amazing. And like the EPA and stuff, nobody wants to get involved in that stuff. So they allow them to, first they get the smart idea of burning this off. It's like some mafia hit. They destroy the evidence by burning it off and then scratch a little dirt over it and call her good. Walk away. But man, that's some horrible crap to have been floating in the air and now in the water. And oh man, that's just going to be a thing that goes on for a long time. And I don't quite understand how this could happen. I mean, I was under the impression, they say an axle bearing went out on a car. There's reports that people saw this miles away. This car was on fire, flames flying from under this car, this rail car. And I thought they had automatic sensors on them to report so they don't get what we used to call a hot box. But that used to be what the caboose would watch. There'd be people in the caboose, and like when the train goes around a little bend, of course they could see the whole length of the train. You could keep an eye out for that stuff. But now, evidently, you just drag them until they fall off. That amazes me. But witnesses say that they saw that way miles back on the track, this flames flying off of this car. So I don't know. So it's got to be like a maintenance issue, or I don't know. It just seems incredible to me that this would happen. But I think there is problems with a lot of these tracks are pretty old. I don't think they really keep the maintenance up on them like they do, like say in Europe. I know it was about 10 or 15 years ago they replaced a bunch of ties in a rail line that's about 10 miles away from me because I got a bunch of the old ones that they pulled out, and I was splitting them and using them for fence posts. I got a whole lot of fence done that way because they were the old oak ones that had been in there. They've got a nail with a numbered head on them. It tells you what year they were put in. That's how they kind of keep track. A lot of them were from the 50s. So they'd probably been in place for 50 years, but they were oak and they were still solid. That's why it was easy enough to split them down the middle and make 2 fence posts out of each tie. And I got them for little, very little. I mean, a whole big trailer load of them. Man, they make good fence posts. But now, I don't know what they're putting in. But I think there's places, I don't think they're actually using wooden ties even. I think they use like a concrete or something. But man, to be living in a town and having trains like that going through every day with these tremendously hazardous chemicals, and then when something happens, then they just, shit happens. Cover it up. And buy more war material. Makes me wonder what they, because these are some pretty nasty chemicals, and they haul a lot of nasty stuff on rail lines. Like here, almost everything comes by truck. We see a lot of, on the main line, the east-west line, you see a lot of, well, you used to see a lot of coal trains. You still see some, but not as many as you used to. But you'd see them going, and now you see a hell of a lot of, flat cars with containers on them. They put like 2 big shipping containers on each. You see a lot of them going. And once in a while, train loads of military equipment. But that's on a really main line. Mostly small lines like the one that's like 10 miles from me. They're just to serve the elevators. So it's really only grain gets shipped on them. Very seldom we see anything but grain going on those. But that's mostly corn. Once in a while there'll be some tankers. But I know of stretches of line that are actually like spurs that go off where they will park miles long lines of tanker cars. Now, whether they're empty or full, I don't know, but they're oil tanker cars that they park when they need someplace to warehouse them. So they use them little, but it's funny because that exact lines, it used to be there was people in these small towns around here that would take a train from here into a town, into Fargo, which is the main town. They would go in for the day. They'd go into town. They'd have to change trains in like Davenport. but they would change trains because there was a line that crossed there. But they would go in the morning and come back in the afternoon, do their shopping and then come back. And I kind of think that's, I think Europe, they kind of do that. But no, we're hauling extremely hazardous chemicals. I really don't understand. I'd like to know more about what all these chemicals were because that's some pretty nasty stuff there. But considering we have very little industry left in this country, I'd like to know what the hell they were being used for. But we'll maybe hear something about that. Well, only, like I say, 6 months from now, it'll be on alternative news sites. It won't be on the mainstream stuff. They're pretty much already trying to forget about this. Same with all that balloon nonsense. It's funny because I was watching today. There was it was like a balloon hobby club, and I think it was one of their balloons that got shot down in the Yukon. In our panic over this nonsense. But I can see where that's a kind of a cool hobby. So it was this club that was doing it, and this balloon that they had circled the globe like 6 times. Up high, it's not bothering anybody, and they were tracking it, and this would be very interesting for people. And these are, the people that are in a hobby club like that. Those are people you want in your future. They will contribute. But like the one guy that was running one of these clubs, he said he tried calling the FBI, he tried calling the military, trying to tell them it's one of our balloons. It's But then, like they say, the tracking quit. But that's why you won't hear, like people are complaining they aren't telling them. Oh, I'm probably over. Yeah, way over my 15. Well, we hope the other one works. But they probably will never really tell you what was on the other balloons, if they even find them. They're having no luck. But they were probably all from clubs and universities and this sort of thing. I mean, that's all it was, except for this Chinese spy balloon. It's funny too, because like when they shot it down, there was somebody said vapor came out. Well, there's an interesting thing about them. In order, they carry water for ballast. They actually have compressors on board that pull the moisture out of the air and hold it to make weight. They kind of like dehumidify the air. And that's how they control the up and down of the balloon, because otherwise you have to vent helium. You can only carry so much helium with you. So they use this condensing apparatus, which is why the big solar panels had to be there to power this condensing apparatus. But oh no, that was going to make an EMP, and then it's funny, because the government knows better. I mean, they knew this thing came. They knew that, they were complaining because now, they found explosives on it. Well, they knew long ago that these things have a termination device that will take the balloon down if the balloon gets out of hand, And they knew, in talking to the Chinese, that this termination device was not functioning. But now they find it, it's an explosive. Well, it's probably some very small charge, that's supposed to be able to be triggered to bring this balloon down. But no, we got to shoot a missile at it. But it's funny too because then you hear how many missiles they actually shot, and it wasn't like up there, boom, and it's down. They did a lot of missing. So if you start adding up the cost of that, you got to take into consideration they ain't telling you the whole truth. And oh, this thing was supposed to be relaying all this secret information back. Well, so they claimed, no, they were blocking it all the time. They were blocking it. Time, yeah. Well, so they said, oh, they were flying U-2 spy planes and stuff around this thing to kind of jam the radio. Well, I'm sure they were communicating by laser with Chinese satellites. It would be real-time stuff. There's no, but they claimed they were intercepting and, a lot of bullshit. A lot of bullshit went on in that. And then, of course, they said, oh, it was maneuverable in that it had motors and propellers on it. Well, didn't see any. But then the one, that spokesman claimed, well, it was on top. So what, you got a motor and propeller on the very top, like one of them old beanies they used to have that had a propeller on top? Whoa, what is this doing? But you'll never see anything of that. I highly doubt it. And then when I look and they see, there's that like a barge, and they got this thing on there, and they got the big bag is what they've got, and they've got crime scene tape around it, and there's all these FBI guys. And who the hell would believe anything the FBI tells you now? They have lost all credibility. Boy, that was an expensive little joyride there. That's a bad thing. But we'll just print more money. But boy, that was a mess. But it's just one mess after another with these people. And like I say, their first instinct though is never to go with the truth, always go with a lie. And hope the truth doesn't come out, but it always comes out. They just hope that by that time you won't care anymore. We got bad news media. In part because they're all in George Soros' pocket. It's funny. I can't believe they let that guy run around doing what he does. Well, I'm glad I got rid of Susan now. If George Soros suddenly goes, there'll be another win. I'm just on a winning streak.